So I connected my ventilator with exactly the settings we just discussed in the previous video, and you can see that now we have an alarm going off. So now we have to troubleshoot and figure out what is going on. So look at your settings and you can see we have a high respiratory rate alarm and a high minute ventilation alarm. Now, if our rate is set at 12, how can the ventilator be delivering 37 breaths a minute? Look up here. See these lungs? Those lungs are indicating that the ventilator thinks the patient is making an inspiratory effort 37 times a minute, and so the ventilator is responding to it. Well, there's a problem with that. Our ventilator is connected to a silver box, and the silver box cannot trigger a breath. It's just a box sitting there being ventilated. So this tells us that we are auto-triggering. And one of the things that the instructions say is to set the sensitivity as sensitive as possible with that auto-trigger. Well, we've got auto-trigger. We're auto-triggering 37 times a minute. The ventilator keeps triggering. So let's go and make this less sensitive. So let's see here. Let's make it less sensitive. It means we're turning up how many liters per minute the ventilator has to sense the patient's making. So let's try it at 2 and see what happens. Nope, still occurring. So in that case, what we have to do is go into pressure trigger. And you can see as soon as I hit pressure trigger, the extra breaths went away. You can see the big pause between breaths now. That's indicating that the ventilator is not sensing any patient effort at this time. Of course, patient can still do it, so I'm going to just go lift the lung over here just by tapping it, and you'll see very easy for this patient to take a breath. I'm barely tapping the bottom of the silver lung, and you can see that most of the time that captures the breath. We actually had 2 little missed ones there, but very little effort. I'm just barely touching the lung, and you can see it's sensing it and triggering a breath. So that's adjusting sensitivity. Now, once we did that, you can see all of our alarms went away, but let's still go and check our alarm status so that we can see how they are set based on what our patient is doing. So if we look over here, our peak inspiratory pressure is 17, and most people set the alarms 10 to 15 above. The latest Egan says 10 to 20 above. Let's do it 10 above. Well, let's do 30. So we're going to be 13 above. So I'm going to take that and go down to 30. Oops, there we go. So that's good. Our PEEP is absolutely where we need to be. We've already talked about respiratory rate, and our patient isn't triggering any breaths, so where we're set for our high and low minute ventilation is great. So let's just hit accept, and we are now good to go.